Ukraine may be worried that the Russians are coming, but they also fear the debt collector is on the way, too. The Ukrainian economy is near collapse. Some key statistics, according to the website Business Insider. The GDP is down 5% and getting worse. Retail sales are at their lowest point since 2010, and the nation's currency is trading at record lows. So how can Ukraine pull itself out of this mess? Joining us now by phone is Ivan Eland, the director for Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. We've had Ivan on numerous times talking about the situation in Ukraine. Often it's the political climate, but we have to remember the whole current political unrest between Russia and Ukraine sort of started over its economic crisis, didn't it?
Yes, it did, and it was also, one manifestation of that crisis was that Ukraine wanted to become closer to the EU, and of course that caused all the problems with Russia because Russia wants to pull it the other way into its orbit, and of course the government fell, and now the government is more pro-EU. I think the Ukrainians are probably putting too many eggs in the EU basket. Certainly that can help with trade, et cetera, but the Ukrainians really have to do structural reforms on their economy if they're going to hope to have any, long-term economic renaissance. Because they're so much, as you point out, they're so heavily in debt, they're almost ready to default, and their exports are down, the economy's down. They really have stagflation, like in the 1970s. In the United States, only worse. Inflation high and a severe economic recession.
And people were asking exactly why did Russia want Ukraine, because it's got a boatload of problems. What has sort of driven Ukraine into what is now looking like an economic abyss?
Well, I think, it's a lot of things. They have a lot of corruption there. They don't have free markets. Et cetera, and it's mostly the Ukrainians' fault. But of course, Russia, the war in eastern Ukraine is not helping the situation, and of course, is making it much worse. So, I would say that the Ukrainians have to bear a heavy responsibility for the economic culture they have of corruption, of restricted markets, kleptocracy, et cetera.
Okay, so now, can you put in perspective exactly how big its debt is, and at what point does it begin to default?
Well, its debt is now 70% of GDP, and that's the key statistic, I think. That's the amount of debt and how much of an economy you have to support and pay that debt. And it's good, but it's going up to 77%. So it's headed in, in an increasing parabolic graph. So I think that's really the problem that they're having is how do they pay this debt? It's really crushing. And a lot of other countries in Europe have had this, but the Ukraine really is not part of the EU and doesn't have a big crutch like the countries, Italy, Spain, Ireland, et cetera.
Yeah, there's no one there right now. There's no one there, Ivan, to really bail out Ukraine, right? I mean, what is it going to take to help the country? Is maybe the best solution for Ukraine to default?
Well, that may, of course, there are some people who say that. I don't think it's ever in your interest to default. But the other problem is if you don't, you may have, riots in your own streets because a lot of this, there are too many big government programs, et cetera, for, satisfying various constituencies. I mean, we've seen this in other countries as well. There's a cost of being socially and mostly fiscally responsible, and that is that you're going to cause domestic unrest. So, and of course, the likelihood of domestic unrest is even more that you have a war on, and people are either dissatisfied with the war or they're dissatisfied with the government in some other manner. So I think Ukraine is really hanging on the precipice here and about ready to fall off.
Okay, Ivan Eland, thank you so much as always.
Thank you.